Welcome, folks. Hi, I am Anika Larsen. I'm an actor and a singer. I'm the mother of two little boys who are 5 and 6 and charming/maddening. And I'm your host of New York City Children's Theater's Meet the Parent, a discussion series about how life in the theater affects your parenting and how parenting affects your life in the theater. Now, in case you didn't know, New York City Children's Theater's mission is to promote children's literacy and social development through accessible professional theater productions and arts and education programs. The result is empathetic, creative, and independent thinkers who make a positive impact on their world. Now, New York City Children's Theater is the only company in New York City that does a whole season of original new works for families, and my boys are always mesmerized by them. But I was moved to join the board of this organization because of the extraordinary outreach that they do. Programs in public schools and in homeless shelters, anti-bullying programs, an innovative new program called the Trauma Toolkit for Educators to help people work with children who've experienced trauma. And another one of New York City Children's Theater's exciting new programs that is free and available to anyone on our website is Start the Conversation. And here to take just a minute to tell us about it is Caitlin McCain. Hi, Caitlin. How are you? Good to see you. So my boys adore you from Creative Clubhouse Stories, which is your live Zoom classes, which anyone anywhere can sign up for. And now, of course, they also adore you from Start the Conversation. You created Start the Conversation, right?
Yes. Well, first, thank you for the compliments. I love your boys so much. It's a gift to be with them every Wednesday. But yes, I have had the pleasure of creating Start the Conversation, which is a series of child-centered videos and grown-up-centered resources that provide grown-ups with the language and tools necessary to start and continue nuanced conversations around big topics with their children.
Caitlin, I got to tell you, it really is. It's elegant how you take big ideas that are tricky, sometimes even scary for parents to navigate with their kids, and you make them somehow simpler, easier to talk about between parents and kids. And it is the first one that we did was one on racism, and it led to just this, my husband and I and our boys having the really terrific talk about it.
Well, I'm so happy to hear that conversation, sparked rich conversation with your boys. And, we've continued this season with talking about COVID-19 and change, immigration and refugees. And now our newest conversation is titled Exploring Gender. So in this 4-part series, we explore gender identity, expression, and pronouns through children's literature and theater activities. So another big one, another big topic.
Yes, you threw a scavenger hunt in there. My boys love a scavenger hunt. They were sold.
Yes. I mean, what better way to explore gender expression than with a costume scavenger hunt? It just made sense, And this conversation was so amazing to create because it was done in really close collaboration with Linz Ammer, who's the founder and CEO of Queer Kids Stuff. And each video features a different teaching artist across the gender spectrum and explores a central question on different aspects of gender. So with 4 child-centered videos, a grown-up resource guide, and a child activity guide, this conversation provides young people and their adults with working definitions of key terms and concepts, while also just being a vessel for encouraging freedom of expression for everyone.
Caitlin, I have to tell you that I myself genuinely learned stuff also doing this particular Start the Conversation. I had talked about what non-binary meant with my kids, but I never felt good about the definition I was using. And then we watched, and yours was so lovely and simple, and I felt equipped. And I have to tell you, literally this weekend, like 2 days ago, I was out and about with my boys, and someone walked past, and Asha said, "I don't know if that's a boy or a girl." And I said, "Well, remember what Miss Caitlin said? She said, some people are boys and some people are girls and some people are in between a boy and a girl and some people are outside of a boy and a girl." And they were like, "Oh yeah, right." And then I said, "Do you remember what Miss Caitlin said to do if you don't know?" And they both wanted to be the first to answer. And they were both like, "You ask them their," and they couldn't come up with the word pronouns. And they were like, and then Key goes, "Prenups." Yes.
Yes.
So they went over and asked the person their prenups, and all became clear, and they made a new friend.
There we go.
But really, there was an ease and a confidence that I had in talking with them about that in that moment, with the added layer of pressure of this was in public. And so I cared to get it right for them, but I also cared to get it right in case anybody could hear me. And I would not have had that ease and confidence if we hadn't just done Start the Conversation. So really, seriously, thank you.
I'm so glad that that was such a useful tool. And I wish I could take credit for that language. But you know what? That is all Lynn's and their expertise. They're an exceptional educator and expert in making these topics accessible to young people. And I learned a ton working with them and Bryn Walker, another teaching artist on the series. And we just had so much fun exploring these stories. And I had fun expressing myself through theater activities that let me really embrace every part of myself. And I hope you get to experience the same joy for everyone watching with your little ones with our Exploring Gender series. And definitely check out Queer Kids Stuff for more joy-filled LGBTQ plus children's education content. And that's my favorite part about Start the Conversation, is that we bring in expert voices to make these conversations easier for grown-ups.
Absolutely. And just a reminder to everyone, this is absolutely free and easily accessible on our website. So tell anyone you know about it, because you'll be glad you did. Thank you so much, Caitlin. Hey, wait, before you go, will you please tell everybody about our next production that's coming up next month?
Of course. Yeah. So Start the Conversation is designed for younger children around 4 to 10. But for folks with teenagers and adult children, we have a very special show opening next month. New York City Children's Theater's adaptation of Maya Angelou's I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings is adapted by award-winning playwright Idris Goodwin and directed by Kalia Davis. And I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings is a one-woman show that weaves unaltered prose directly from Angelou's groundbreaking and controversial book and introduces a new generation to this American literary icon. The show will be playing at Theater Row from May 20th through June 5th, and tickets are pay what you can. So definitely head to our website and check that out.
I can't wait to see it. Hey guys, so you'll find Caged Bird info and of course Start the Conversation on our website, which is NewYorkCityChildren'sTheater.org. All right. Thank you, Caitlin. See you Wednesday.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye. All right, folks. Let's get to our guests. Let's get to it. First of all, if you have questions, you can ask them. So if at any point in this discussion, please, we would love to hear from you. Please, you can write in the comment section any questions you have for Tom and Cameron. So please go ahead and do that. All right, let's bring them out. Our first guest, Tom Kitt. Before I do your intro, Tom, hello. Can you please tell me where you are looking so dapper?
I am at Carnegie Hall. Tonight, the New York Pops is honoring Bobby Lopez and Kristen Anderson Lopez and their brilliant career, which is just at the beginning, middle of, and they are have so many exciting things coming up. I'm excited to say that I'm actually working with them, and so they invited us to come and help celebrate their work tonight. And I mentioned that I had an engagement here tonight, and they were kind enough to say, well, we'll find you a room, you can go and do the Zoom and then come back. So that's where I am.
That is an unbelievable story. Lovely of them. Very lovely of you to be skipping out of the audience and going backstage at Carnegie Hall to be here with us. I so appreciate it. All right.
My pleasure.
That's crazy. All right. So Tom Kitt is a composer and a lyricist. He's written the music for shows including Next to Normal, If Then, High Fidelity. He's a music director, and he's Broadway's go-to orchestrator and arranger for shows like American Idiot and Jagged Little Pill. And he can sometimes be seen rocking around town with the Tom Kitt Band. Sunday, you're at 54 Below?
Sunday, I'm doing a solo show. It's just me at the piano, which is terrifying, but also I think will be really an enjoyable night for me.
Wow. Well, that's exciting. I can't imagine it's not already sold out, but if it's not, it should be in about 5 minutes.
It is sold out. I was happily surprised. I didn't know if that would happen. So it's exciting for me.
I'm not surprised. Tom is the father of Charlie, Julia, and Michael, who are 11, 13, and 16 years old. All right. Our next guest, Cameron Crowe. Hello, Cameron.
Hey, you guys.
Where are you?
I am at the hall of my house.
Sure.
No, I'm excited to be here and just was looking forward to it. And it's good to see you and Tom, like my favorite parents. So besides my own, of course, but this is really great that we get together and talk.
Yeah. All right. So Cameron Crowe, of course, is a writer and a filmmaker. He's been writing about rock music since he was a teenager. He was Rolling Stone's youngest ever contributor. His first screenplay was Fast Times at Ridgemont High. And he followed that up by writing and directing so many great films, including Say Anything, Jerry Maguire, We Bought a Zoo, which is a favorite at our house, and of course, Almost Famous. Cameron is the father of Curtis and Billy, who are both 22 years old. Twins, Cameron. Twins. I think twins, and all I can hear is the Miley Cyrus song, I came in like a wrecking ball.
Wrecking balls.
The pre-parent life, to then having one child in your home is like that. Two babies in your home, that just feels like the shift is dramatic and, I don't know, crazy.
Yes? Consequential, huge.
Yeah.
Altering in the best way.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have had it any other way. Amazing.
So Tom and Cameron have adapted Almost Famous. If you don't know, they've adapted it for the stage, and it's an upcoming Broadway musical. And I have had the crazy joy of being a part of the readings and the workshops and the run in the Old Globe in San Diego. And I have to say that you fellas are two of the loveliest humans I have ever worked with. And so it only stands to reason that you must be lovely dads. So let's get to it. Let's talk about it. All right. So you guys, I always ask the same first question every time. And it's one that I was first asked on a form at my pediatrician's office, where they were asking like developmental milestones for my kids. Like, can they put 3 blocks on top of each other? Can they stand on one leg for 3 seconds? Can they hold a pen and write? So, and then the last question is always, what do you like about your child? And the first time I was struck by that, because I thought I found it actually really moving. A tear came to my eye. The idea that my pediatrician considers it part of my children's whole health to know what I like about my kid. So I would like to start by asking you guys that. What do you like about your kids? Tom, you want to go first?
I love that they're all passionate about whatever it is that they love. And they all have great kindness, and that as much as I, as a parent, try to teach them, I learn constantly from them and the way they see the world. And I always look forward to ending my day back in our home with them and talking with them. They all have such different personalities, so I get such rich different things out of each one of them. But nothing is greater than sharing what I'm doing in life with them.
Oh. Lovely. Cameron, what do you like about your kids?
Boy, I so agree with Tom on most issues, actually. This is something I really agree with him on. I mean, when you were just talking with Caitlin, I was swooning for the early years of raising them, because, I'd love to revisit that, but of course we can't. And but I'm just so grateful that I did the best, and Nancy Wilson, their mom, like, we did our best. But I think the miracle is that they turned into these guys with great hearts. And besides you guys, or along with you guys, they're just people I love to hang out with. I love to spend time with them. Like when COVID put Billy and I together for an extended period of time I didn't know I'd ever have with him. It was the gift of a very tough time, because we got those extra 2 years, really. And I love hanging out with the guy and his brother. His brother's in Montreal. But yeah, it's just the whatever goes into the early years. I think the dream is that they become this person that you just want to put your arm around and spend time with, and see their joy in the world.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've had a lot of actors on here, and I know as an actor myself, the challenges of balancing an actor's life with parenting. I mean, I've basically given up on ever feeling fully prepared for an audition again. It's just, I will never have the time and the space and the quiet to prep for something like that again. And it is what it is.
Yeah.
But so I'm excited to have you guys here because I am so curious about what are the hard parts about balancing a life as a writer, as a creator with parenting. Cameron, you want to tackle that? Both
Yeah, I mean,
and like literally working, like Tom, I think of you in a work apartment trying to write with small children and how that must be. So literally like pragmatically what your process is. And then of course also all of the other sort of emotional, psychological.
I think I found pretty early that, you know, as important as your work is to you and the time where you can just like drift and think of ideas and, you know, whistle down the road for a while and not tell anybody where you are and all that stuff, that goes, that disappears. But what it's replaced with is this knowledge that like you have to take the wheel. Somebody's got to take the wheel and be like a player coach for everything that's going to happen to them. And you can't do it all. You just can't do it all. But what you want to do and what you do end up creating, I think, is more resonant for the time you spend with your kids. But like balancing that was tough. But I always did love their company, even as little guys who would only say things like "what dat, what dat, what dat." I loved hanging out with them. But you do have to trade away some of the fancy world of your youth, and gloriously so. You know, I feel like the things I wrote less, but I probably wrote better in many ways. But that was the gift that came along with seeing them grow into people that I love very much.
It's in Carnegie Hall.
No, it's
Carnegie Hall, man. It's the best.
So cool.
I've been practicing, so here I am. You know, it's definitely challenging because we're living in an apartment. There's 5 of us, and I work at home. I have Rita had an apartment, and she had built me a home studio that was then destroyed early in the pandemic by a flood, and we ended up having to move out of that apartment to another one. And we're still sort of in motion to develop a workspace for me. It's sort of in the middle of a lot of things. The living room where the television is, and my son Charlie loves to watch television and have songs and be singing. And then it's near the kitchen, so there's noise from there. And but I think that I've learned just how to kind of focus and get stuff done, and also take advantage of if they are at school. I know I have those hours,
Right.
and then sometimes those sounds actually inspire me. I get emotional from just the family that I think back to when it was just me, and then it was just me and Rita, and now there's 5 of us, and there's life. And as much as you sometimes think, oh, I if I could just be alone and I could do my work, but that would be a more boring life. And it was interesting this morning. My daughter missed the bus, and I was counting on starting work. I have a lot right now, so I was counting on starting right away. So I ended up having to drive her to school. And at first I was annoyed, and then I turned to Julie and I said, well, it just gives us some time together. And then this afternoon, she told me last minute she had study hall. So I showed up there and had to wait around for 45 minutes for her to be done with that. And similar, it's like, okay, I'm here. I could be at the computer. I could be doing something, but I'm just going to embrace what life is throwing me and just trust that I'll get the work done and use time later. And so I try to do that. I'm annoyed with myself that I sometimes let my emotions and the worry and the anxiety make themselves known in the house. You know, but I just look at their faces and I immediately pull back. And there are times where you just have to say, you know, there's work, but like it's more important to have family time. It's more important that we sit on the couch and watch television together. It's more important that I help you with your homework and read you to sleep. And people know in the business now that I'm a dad, and if I'm coming onto a project, that if my child has a recital, if my child has an important event at school, if no one's there to pick up one of my children and they could be stranded, that I'm going, and I'll have support and people, the music team, everyone is so wonderful that they say, yeah, we get it. But I think that's something that we parents in the theater, it's just not everyone is parents, and we made that choice, that beautiful choice. But I say that's who I am. This is a big part of me, and for me to be able to do this, everyone has to understand that takes priority.
I love that. Ooh, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I just have to add, the amazing thing is that, Tom, you always come in with the work and more. So the miracle, it must be a miracle of planning, because you're able to do all this, and also you give yourself the creative luxury of doing the work that you love beyond even what you're being asked for. It's amazing.
Well, I get to sit in at a table with the great Cameron Crowe, watching the great Anika Larsen sing a song that we wrote, and I think that we love what we do, and I still pinch myself that I get to be in that room and make this musical with you that is so deeply personal.
Yeah.
And so when I have that moment to get the work, it's always like, oh my God, I have this moment in time right now to just sit and realize an idea, and I just always think that's a gift. I love to be able to do that.
Wow.
Lovely.
Bravo.
Well, I mean, parenting is about nothing if not flexibility, right? And but that's, I think as artists we get that already. Just our lives are so uncertain and things fall through so often and every job is finite, and so you're always pivoting. So I feel like we're already suited to being parents in that way, to be able to sort of emotionally handle that.
Wow. True.
So then, okay, so those are the challenges. What do you feel like are the best parts of being a person who is an artist, who has children? Like, I love that my boys will parts of their memories of their childhood will be like jazz quintet rehearsals in our living room, and hopefully someday running around backstage at a theater. I mean, those are some of the joys that you get to give your kids that parents who are muggles, as we sometimes say, don't get to do. What do you feel like are some of the real perks of doing what you do and having children?
Wow. They see everything, and you get to see yourself through them, and you also get to see the effect of every little thing that you do, and you get to kind of, I don't know, adjust your best self to inspire them, and you can see instant rewards from that. And it's yeah, I wasn't expecting that. It's a great thing to kind of shape humanity better than you were able to shape it, and see it reflected like almost in real time with them. It's the coolest.
Tom, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that's beautiful, and that's the richness of it. And we know the benefits of a life in the arts and arts education for children, what it teaches: empathy, connection, courage, resilience, and a life as an artist, especially one who is existing in the public sphere, can be challenging. And my kids see the good of it, and they see the hardships of it.
Yep.
Especially if you have something that you've put out that didn't get the kind of response that you want. Now they're old enough to go chasing everything that's out there, and there's more than ever. And that's hard. They see all of it, but I think that those components of a world in the arts is part of their lifeblood now. And I see it in my kids. I see that they have a sensitivity and a worldview that can only come from not only what they experience as artists, but seeing hopefully me and Rita live as artists, and we're in it for the long haul because we believe that this is who we were meant to be. And it's been a really hard time for the arts, obviously, because of what we've been going through in the pandemic and the inability to be performing and doing what we do. But getting those kids back in the room and letting them see Almost Famous for the first time, which they hadn't done, they weren't able to see it in San Diego, And then for me, when they asked me about it, and Michael is asking, Dad, can you send me that song? Can you send me that song?
So
That's the
great.
greatest compliment, because they could easily say, Dad, that was cool, but
Yeah.
they seem to be inspired by the work that I'm doing, and I know they've been inspired by the work Cameron has put into the world, and that's been great to say. You know, Almost Famous, you have to go deep dive into everything, because you will learn what it is to be a person in this world.
Mm.
So true. I mean, I'm still surprised that there are so many, people out there that have like taciturn parents and kind of responsive emotionally, a home where they've had to fight for seeing some of the real emotions out there. And it's true, like my sons have seen the good and the bad, and they do learn, they do see it all, and they see heartache, and they see when you like pull together to protect yourself from the tough stuff, and then they see the joy of celebrating when our play gets a good review, or they see me working with you, Tom, or with you, Anika, and they see that I can get emotional, and it's okay for them to get emotional too, and it's fantastic. The other side is they see everything more than you know. And like not too long ago, I was talking about an idea in front of Billy, and he said, Dad, that's a little Cameron Crowe, a little bit, like maybe try a sci-fi Japanese backdrop with that. Just shake it up a little bit. And I'm like, oh, where did that come from?
Nice.
He was right, but what are you gonna do?
So I've been thinking about so when you wrote Almost Famous, the boys, you wrote it before the boys were born, right? They came about right almost at the same
right
time.
after.
Yeah,
Right after.
so it had been written. So you wrote the character of Elaine, who is, if people don't know, the movie is loosely based on your life. And then Frances McDormand was extraordinary and played Elaine Miller, who is loosely based on your mother. And that's the role that I have been fortunate enough to play. But so you wrote that part before you were a parent. And now 22 years of parenting have passed. And now you're rewriting that part for a new iteration of the show, and with Tom, who is also a parent. And so I'm curious how much that has, the fact that you're a dad and you get what it is to have sons now, comes into play as if you've even clocked that as you've been writing this.
Yeah, I mean, I used to relate to William Miller, the kid with the orange bag and the tape recorder trying to interview his heroes. That is still me. But when I watch Almost Famous, it's you are the one that makes me cry. You are the one, Anika, that I relate to, because I'm now that person that aches to see their kid out in the world doing well. And like what guardrails can you put up? What guardrails shouldn't you put up? I totally relate to that side of the story now. Mm-hmm. And William, the younger character, who was me and is still me, I kind of see him through the other end of the telescope now. It's like, it reminds me of the time, but what deeply moves me is the stuff that you and Tom have brought to the play, which is all about parenting and all about how that resonates through the lives of all the characters, because the rock band in Almost Famous has to come up against the kid's parent. And that single parent has to wave the flag for all the stuff that we're talking about and all the stuff that you and Caitlin were talking about earlier. And it's just, it's cool that those elements were already built in, and now they're just kind of robust thanks to you two.
Yeah, you're lovely. You're so generous.
I'm lucky is what I am, because I just love the work we've been able to do and that you've shared with me.
Tom, so the first song that Elaine sings in the show, I actually want to show a little clip of it because I want people to sort of understand. So the song is basically like parenting in a nutshell. The first time I sang it, we did a workshop this last month, and I sang it, and Tom, you hadn't seen it in a while. And you got really emotional. So I want to play the clip of it, and then I want to hear, Tom, why you got emotional. And then I also really just want to talk about like the writing of it, like very pragmatically, like how you wrote it together. I'm curious about that. So this is us, Tom. Actually, you're in it too. This is us on Stars in the House, the first week of the pandemic, of the shutdown. So this is March 2020. It was raising money for the Actors Fund. And so we went on and sang the song. So it's just the beginning of it, but just to give everybody just a taste of the song. Hit it, Jason. Tom Kitt on the keys, by the way. He's the one thing I have now. The others went away, and I can't afford to lose him too. He has dreams he must chase now, and they might lead him astray. So what is it that I'm supposed to do? I pull tighter, but he gets loose. I confront him, but he makes an excuse. I fear I may be losing my touch. It's a burden, you see, to have such wisdom in me. 'Cause he knows too little, and I know too much. Yeah, he knows too little, and I know too much. So that idea, wow. He knows too little, and I know too much. I mean, I think there's not a parent out there who doesn't understand that and feel that in such a painful, bittersweet way. But Tom, can you tell us a little bit why it hit you? Because I was like, you actually heard this song before. I don't know why you're so emotional right now. You wrote it. But what was it that got to you?
Well, I always feel like I'm discovering new things in that song and the way that you emote it and portray it. I mean, it's up to this workshop where I was a mess. And I believe that when Cameron and I first started working together on the show, Cameron had a draft of the musical that he shared with me, and that hook and some lyrics were in the draft. He knows too little, and I know too much. And I just thought that is a classic, brilliant hook for a song. And we started to tease it out together. And I think I took some of the ideas that were in that draft and then added on top of it. We had a whole other verse and like a sec, but now we go right to the bridge. But so all of it was easy for me to connect to, because that idea of a parent who knows that their child has to live their own life, they have to have their heartache, and it will make them stronger, but you can't find it in you to actually release them and let that happen. How do you navigate that? How do you give them over to the world, knowing what the world is going to bring to them? It's just the ultimate parental conundrum of, you brought a child into the world to protect them, and then you realize you can't, and that it actually is good for them for you to let them have independence. And the pandemic was, watching that, the first week, the pandemic was us as parents having to pull tighter. And Michael, my oldest, was ready for some independence. He's a teenager. He's going to high school. And that was the moment where suddenly he was like, no, we're actually going to, you're not going anywhere. You're going to stay in this house with us. And there's a moment at the end of the song where Elaine says, be the man, the boy that I raised. And you in that moment always get me, because we're always going to see them as our young children. We're always going to see the version of them. And we just hope that we've taught them enough to navigate whatever's coming their way. And I just feel like that song, your portrayal of it, has just gotten deeper and richer. And now, looking with the backdrop of the pandemic, it hits me harder to just know that the world is going to toss a curveball at you. Yeah. And part of your job is to protect your kids, and part of your job is to know when to allow them to fend for themselves.
Wow.
Yeah. Cameron?
One of the wonderful things about creating music with Tom is, besides just being a fan and having the great front row seat of watching him, summon this music so beautifully, powerfully, is he doesn't say, what did you mean in the movie when this happened? He says, what did you, Cameron, feel at the time when you lived this stuff that you later wrote a movie about? Let's forget everything that happened after the actual authentic event that created this story. And in that way, Tom, you are an amazing, and you are a reporter. You're like an emotional reporter, and you ask for anything. You ask for a poem, a story, anything, a conversation that might give a sense of what the reality was, what's the truth of it. And then you kind of tuck it away, and then come back one day and you play, that song. And you just kind of, you're blown away, at watching how your process delivers you everything that we all dream of, but also how deeply you went to the real stuff. And I feel it every time we hear the song because of that. And I felt it right then. Now Anika is the same way. Like Anika wants to know the same stuff. And in the end, we all got to meet on a field of honor based on real people, real feelings. And out of it comes this song that creates like a big jolt of reality and soul every time I hear it. And that had never happened to me before. And I thank you both.
Thank
I
you.
didn't just ask you guys on here to compliment me. So that wasn't my ulterior.
You're also kind of rocking in that little performance there. You guys are like early COVID. You're like putting it together virtually, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, well, that was back when we thought COVID was going to be 3 weeks. So we were all
back in the
really
day.
solve the problems quick. So I'm curious if there are any other ways, any other sort of examples you can think of the writing that you've done since you were parents, where your parenting really came into it, like where you wrote something in light of what you know now as a parent. Cameron, you're not, which makes me think you.
Great question.
Have an answer.
Easy for me. I'll be quick. There's a musical I wrote called Superhero, which premiered at Second Stage just before the pandemic, and the whole gesture of that musical was a musical for my kids, because the basic storyline is that a young boy sees his father killed, and he's obsessed with comics and superheroes, and there's he and his mom are living on their own, and then there's another character who's sort of a mysterious bus driver that starts to take on characteristics of a superhero, and it's a question of is that character actually a superhero or not? But the whole thing is about trying to put a family back together. And for me, there's a song called "My Dad the Superhero," and I was always terrified when my parents went out. Every time they had a night out, I was afraid and would sort of wait up till they got home. And now as the parent, I'm terrified of anything that I want to always be there for my kids. And that show was about some of the things we were talking about in He Knows Too Little, but also about what it is for me to take on these as I get older, feeling the mortality and the time, it goes so fast, and wanting to be there for everything. And just that musical was an exercise for me to be able to write about all that.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Love it.
So good.
Cameron?
I don't know, like being a parent kind of runs through everything now, and I'm really grateful for it. I like celebrating how different I feel writing now. It's that thing of when you're growing up and your parents say, like, I would stand in front of a speeding bullet for you, like, take me out just so that you can live. And I'd always, as a little guy, kind of think like, I don't know if I'd be able to do that. I may just have to let him take the bullet, okay? I'm not going to tell anyone, but like, now, of course, however many years later, you're like, give me the bullet, give me all the bullets. Save that kid. Don't even do it. Run, hit me. Like, it's not even gonna think about it. And to any kid watching this, you know, you're going to love that transition because you feel like you have your hand on something much greater than yourself. You have your hand on the big human picture, and you're shaping the human picture. And if you have to go down for any reason to protect that kid's journey, you do it. And I love knowing that now. I do. I mean, I'm not waiting for it to happen. I'd like it not to happen, but I'm ready if it did. And in many small ways, I think we all do that, you know, as parents.
Yeah, I think that a lot. I remember the first moment where I thought, "Oh, I understand." We're getting deep, you guys. We're going in, but I understand death now. I have to die so that there's room for you, like, so that you may live. And that circle of life, what, like, it's so large that it's hard to put into words. That doesn't hold it all. But yes, that idea, there was such comfort and peace in that, sort of strangely. It's like, oh, it all makes sense now. Clearly still don't want to do it, but now it's okay. Now I understand. Yeah. Yeah. So wait, so you find that finds its way into your writing, that idea?
Yeah, just the responsibility of being a parent and the joyful responsibility of it. I
Yeah.
used to have a hard time writing the parental, you know, I would have a hard time writing like tough parental situations where there were like nasty, awful parents, because my parents were completely loving.
Mhm.
And in my mom's case, wildly entertaining about it, as Anika and Tom both know. But now seeing all the nuances of being a parent, it's like, you know, I'm able to write about kind of, you know, outside of my own experience, knowing what it's all based on, which is valuable. Along with a little Tom Kitt-esque research, I feel like I can do stuff that I wasn't able to do, including not write and be a parent.
Yeah. All right, you guys, I want to ask some of our questions from the audience. All right. So the first question is, do you see your children in the roles of your characters ever?
Wow. Yeah, I do. Sometimes I see I see my son Curtis as, yeah, as William Miller sometimes from Almost Famous, and then I've seen their friends as Spicoli from Wish I didn't see as much of the Spicoli character in their friend. No, I'm kidding. But no, it's fun. I know they see their grandmother in Elaine Miller a lot, you know, and when people say, "Oh, I haven't seen Almost Famous," you know, I've heard them say, "You should check it out. It's our family." You know, so they relate to it, which is cool.
Mhm.
I love that Tom was talking about superheroes. Superhero is so resonant. I mean, I really loved what that said to his family and to the world. So cool.
Thank you.
Tom, what about you? Do you ever see your children in
You
your
know,
characters?
I see shades of it, and Michael, my oldest, actually played a character in Freaky Friday. They did Freaky Friday at at the drama camp he was attending that my wife created. So that was really cool to see Michael play that role, and it was his first sort of taste of the theater. And he's never now he just played the baker in Into the Woods this past weekend. Just totally wrecked me. I was a mess. There's part, you know, Michael is definitely has William Miller in him, the dreamer, the passion to fall in love and to feel that deeply with music, people in your life. Um, I see I see Charlie. I tell Cameron this all the time. I see Charlie, maybe not in me, but I see Charlie in Jerry Maguire. Charlie is Ray. So that's something that I see all the time. And it's been fun to see how they love music and acting, and every so often I'll see them listening to things that I've written or singing it around the house. and I'll be curious to see as they get older, because a lot of the stuff. I mean, Freaky Friday is great because that's really a universal piece, but for things like Next to Normal and American Idiot and Jagged Little Pill and even Almost Famous, as they get older, how's that going to speak to them? Are those roles they're going to want to play? And in doing so, what will it inform them about their lives? Because that's what I love about theater. I love hearing something, playing something that changes who I am, and I think they're after that.
Yeah. Another question we have is, if you could write a role for your children, what would it be?
Really good question. I would say a musician. Like I would love to see Curtis, who's a guitarist, play a character who is a musician of some kind, just so we can together take that journey of putting music on film or on stage while also doing a characterization. That would be so fun. Yeah. I love musician characters.
I would love for my son Michael to play Lloyd Dobler, a version of Lloyd Dobler so that would be exciting. I think that if I could write something for my young son Charlie, I would write something that takes advantage of his imagination, just a big dreamer, fantastical musical that allows him to sing and dance and then have some kind of beautiful catharsis. And then Julia actually has this incredible voice, so I would love to write something that's emotionally and musically challenging for her and allows her to step out and play a character that's unabashed, confident, celebratory, and really just kind of is a force of nature, because that's what she is.
Wow, so true.
All right. How about, here's another one. Do you want your kids to go into the arts? They're sort of starting, and
I'm always trying to push them into the better corners of the arts, just starting out, because I think they're shy. Billy is a screenwriter now. So he's studying screenwriting, and he's really good at action and stuff. So I'm almost depending on him to pull me into some different genres and stuff, like we were talking earlier. But no, it's just it's important to know exactly what you guys have talked about a bunch, I'm sure, which is, rejection is a part of life. Rejection happens in whatever job you're in, and you get rejected a lot in the arts because you're not always working for yourself. You're sometimes, to get to the point where you can do everything your own way, you have to work with people that have strong opinions and find a way to meet them at a crossroads. And that's just a great study in life. So I ache for them seeing rejection will be in front of them, but also I'm trying to just show them that you can turn rejection into positivity. We're working on a project now with the great Joni Mitchell, and she had nothing but obstacles her whole creative life. When there was no Billie Eilish before her, there was no young singer-songwriter, and she just, after taking knock after knock after knock, said the same thing: I'll just get better. I'll get so good they can't deny me. And I would love my kids to get a taste of that, And she went through a lot of pain to get to that realization at a young age, but it served her to where now at 80, she's gotten every award. And she also, maybe this is something worth mentioning, she says, I was a bad student, so I was unable to adhere to all the rules they gave me, which, while I had to do 12th grade twice, for example, I learned that I learned to do things my own way. So now the very people that gave me trouble for not being within the guidelines of school and now give me awards for being an original thinker.
Right. Tom, what about you? It seems like your kids already are in the arts.
No kidding.
Yeah.
That was Cameron's answer was perfect about all of the things that you hope they'll discover. The short answer for me is yes, and I've given you examples. There's wonderful joke. My good friend Amanda Green, who I used to accompany in her cabaret shows, she had this great joke. Her parents, Adolph Green and Phyllis Newman, both legends in the theater, and she had a joke that when she brought her boyfriend home, who's a wonderful doctor, and she brought then her boyfriend, now her husband, when she brought him home to meet her parents, and said, "Here's my boyfriend. He's a doctor." And they said, "Well, that's great. What does he know about musical theater?" And I always laughed at that because, who are the parents that are going to say, "Dr. Schmachter"? What about? And the truth is that's what I'm an artist, and I, like Cameron, I realized what that life could hold for them, but I did it, and it's made my life what it is. And what I'm happy about and what I hope for is that they will find something that they have a passion for. I was lucky that at an early age I knew what I wanted to do with my life, and I protected that and went after it. And if they have that kind of passion in their life, that's a great thing, because I'm sure we've all come across people and they say, "Well, yeah, I'm doing that for a little bit, and then I'm going to do that, and I don't know, we'll see where it takes me." And for me, it's like, yeah, this is what I do, and this defines me. And they'll learn a great deal from it. And if there is something that dad can help with and inform them, and they have picked the right thing, that I can actually offer them some guidance.
Yeah. Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
All right. This one's just in. Oh, as parents, what would you now tell your younger selves? From Stephanie Joel. Hi, Stephanie.
Never give up.
That's a good question.
Never give up. I like what Tom's saying, which is like, it's good to know what you want. It's good to decide, what your bliss, or discover what your bliss is early, and then never give up. Easy to say, hard to do, but it was our family motto: never give up.
I would say it's a long haul. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon, and just know that you will weather whatever comes your way, and you will be better off for all that you experience. Just look at everything as a lesson and something that brings you clarity, and the rewards will be worth it, and the pain won't be wasted.
Jason, do you have any other audience questions? I have one more. Oh, there we go. Oh, project.
You knew that was coming.
Oh, Carol. Hopefully I have some details for you soon. We've been doing her archive projects, where she releases kind of a box set of her songs, kind of augmented with outtakes and new material. So we're up to Court and Spark now with those, but there'll be some fun stuff to announce pretty soon, I think. I have one tiny thing to add to what we were just talking about. I heard the best podcast interview with Nicolas Cage the other day, where he was asked a question about advice for young actors. And I loved his answer, and I hope I get it right. He said, if you have a bullseye and you just keep firing arrows at the bullseye, you'll miss, but eventually the odds are that you will hit it, and you will hit a bullseye. The only issue is, don't run out of arrows.
I love that.
Which I love, because it's just a metaphor for the same thing of don't give up, but it's also like, don't run out of the joyful curiosity about making it one day. Like, equal to any of the rejection should be like, damn, that makes me one step closer to actually doing it. So I don't know, for Nick Cage to in his semi, maybe early third act of his career, to be that eloquent for younger artists, I thought was like so generous. I thought it was great. So here's to Nick.
That's great.
Yeah, I thought it was so cool.
All right, folks, our time is coming. It's drawing to a close. We always end our show with the lightning round. Are you guys ready for the lightning round? You're not ready. Nobody's ready for the lightning round. You're going to love the lightning round, okay? It's 7 questions. There's no wrong answers except for the wrong answer. It's nothing if not fast. We ready? All
We're
right.
ready.
If there was no one else available, would you let Jeff Spicoli from Fast Times at Ridgemont High babysit your children? Cameron.
Yes.
Tom.
Yes.
Absolutely. You know you wouldn't. Absolutely not. I would not.
Oh, of course I would.
Would you?
They would learn and they would laugh.
I'm such a fuddy duddy. I totally expect you guys to hard no on that. I love that. We'll talk about that more. What was your favorite book to read to your kids, Tom?
Oh wow. I love reading The Giving Tree.
Cameron.
Oh, the places you'll go.
Which of Tom's shows best describes your experience parenting? Next to Normal, American Idiot, or Jagged Little Pill? Cameron.
Oh, man.
Jagged Little Pill.
Tom.
Oh wow. American Idiot. Because I can be.
Which of your kids should play you in the movie? Tom.
Ooh, Michael.
Cameron.
Barring Michael, both of my boys, one spelling the other when they have to take a break. They're twins.
Fair enough. Okay. Would you actually buy a zoo for your children if it was reasonably priced and you were doing nothing else because of a pandemic?
No.
Yes. They love animals, and if I could do that and figure out how. Rita and I are always like, oh, you want a zoo? Okay, we'll get a zoo. We'll figure that out. So, yeah.
Amazing.
We'll visit Tom and Rita's zoo.
What's an activity you've always wanted to do with your kids that they have always refused to do with you, Tom?
Oh, that's a really good question. There are movies and albums. There are things that I would just love to sit around and I try to show them or make them listen to, and they get bored. So I would love to have them actually see it through with me.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. Cameron.
Fly fishing.
Interesting. All right. Last question. Would you rather that your kids were almost famous, almost happy, almost employed, almost vaccinated, or almost ethical?
Almost ethical.
Tom.
Almost famous.
All right. All right. That's the lightning round. I'm being told that all your answers are correct. You both win. Congratulations. Tom and Cameron, thank you guys so much for coming. I'm so grateful. It was so wonderful talking to you today. Thank you
for having us.
Oh, you got it. You got it. Oh, and I guess you should go back to the show at Carnegie Hall that you're not watching currently. So we'll let you go. Bye, Tom. Cameron, you stay with me as I say goodbye. And thank you to Miss Caitlin for stopping by. Thank you to my friend and our wonderful technical director, Jason Crispin. Thank you, Glenn, Nicole, and Andrew for all of their help. Thank you to the good and lovely people who work tirelessly at New York City Children's Theater. And thank you to you for watching. If you enjoyed this evening and you think you know others who might enjoy it, you can share it. It will live on forever on YouTube. So this was our last Meet the Parent, Cameron, of the season.
Wow.
All of our past discussions are viewable on the website, and there will be more next season. So if anyone's interested in making sure they don't miss them, you can sign up for the newsletter at the New York City Children's Theater website. That's it. Thank you, Cameron.
So great. Thank you, Anika. Thanks for bringing us together. More soon, please.
More soon. Good night, everyone.
Bye-bye. See ya.